Hello, good morning, and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
Good morning. Yes, indeed, the background is very different this morning, but we're still right here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory.
Yes,
I'm Maupe Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Yes, I'm with them this morning. Good morning and welcome. Today, as you may have observed, is 24th day in the month of May. I remember because I have an assignment to submit today. Yeah. Welcome to the program.
What did you
An
say?
assignment to submit today.
Students.
Well, quite interesting. I mean, the scenarios at the courts, we're keeping tabs on that one
Indeed.
as well, while the president is just getting set to exit.
Indeed.
I think they already called for the removal vans already, because there's been images of 7 different people in governments leaving the place. So
He's already staying in the glass house with his family.
yeah,
So that the villa can be prepared for the incoming president.
yes, and then the First Lady has taken the incoming First Lady on a tour of the villa, and then the valedictory FEC will hold. They had an extraordinary one last time. Several memos they said they had to pass. Is it about 30, 40? Wow, okay. And so that's what happens. Time flies. Nothing lasts forever. Not even time. Because our time will be up, in manner of speaking. But then we're going to go ahead and take you through some of the dailies here this morning. And yeah, of course, some of them also looking forward, counting down to some of the activities that will happen on May 29. But let's start with Vanguard. After May 29, Niger Republic will defend me if... That's ascribed to Buhari. Oh dear, yeah, I know. You thought, could that actually be? Well, yes, indeed, it is what is here today. And different narratives about this Nigeria Republic. Says he deliberately shot land borders. Adds, only God can secure Nigerian borders. He explains why he appointed lady ministers of finance. Recalls how he lost 2 children to sickle cell. Nigerians won't miss Buhari Afenifere. It shows his non-committal to Nigeria. MBF, that's Middlebelt Forum. Buhari's statement validates earlier speculations of ties with Niger. This one is coming from Pandef, so you have all of these stories. And so, of course, people will have reactions concerning what transpires and how they expect things to go. But yeah, there you go. And then commissioning of second Niger Bridge. You can see the image right there and what transpired. And the kind of impact, of course, has been spoken about copiously. Impact that this will have in the region and the economy by extension. It goes back and forth. But then about the economy, also about the economy, I should add, import bill on manufactured goods falls 18.4% to 2.45 trillion naira. This is the one above this lead story that you can see right here. So that's Vanguard today, guys.
Well, I'm taking a look at New Telegraph now, and the lead story has this: 10th NAS leadership, how Tinubu Kwankwanso's Paris meeting altered permutations. So that's the lead story on the front page. Searchlight now on Sani Musa Iyonveri. That's the rider to that story. Oppositions can't take anything from us. Well, that's according to a source, as Yari's support base waxes stronger. Okay, Wase boycotts leadership meetings, Bajabia Miller's plenary processions. That's also there. APC will review zoning to give North Central presiding position. That's according to Gagdi. Well, if indeed Sani Musa Iyonveri are now the people being considered, who knows what will happen, because Sani Musa is from Niger State and he's from the North Central part of the country. But anything can happen, really. Anything can happen.
It's politics, right?
It is politics. 24 hours is a very long time. You must emerge through elections, Adamu tells Abbas. Kalu
Told you.
Okay, so I understand
They
that.
don't need telling, do they? Well, that's how I heard.
They do, apparently, they do. So
That's-
I attended something very recently, well, just before the elections, where young people who were planning to run for various offices or who had secured tickets for various offices. I understand that there is a tradition whereby if you have secured a ticket to run as an honorable member to any House of Assembly or even to the National Assembly, you're already called an honorable.
Well, yes, they can be called, but it's
Yeah, I mean, you were called an honorable in anticipation that you will win that particular
But
position.
they also know that they
And that's just, so they were, that was just, I mean, as far as I'm concerned and as far as we all know, they are not yet honorable. The fact that you have picked up a form and you have been successful in, being called a candidate doesn't make you an honorable yet. So it's the same thing we're witnessing here now,
Marco,
whereby
why is
this endorsed candidate who is not yet, I mean, the 10th Assembly has not even been inaugurated. There's been no election yet. His own people are going around calling him Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker. And now you have to have the APC chairman intervening and say, hey, hold on, he's not yet the speaker. He's just one of the aspirants. So I think that there needs to be a check of the political culture. This sort of habits that we're beginning to imbibe, there needs to, I know there is a habit.
Don't hold your breath.
But you said something the other time. You said they are calling it as though they were.
Well, that's what the Pentecostals preach, but I don't think, the last I checked, are they Pentecostal? Are they practicing a religion in politics?
Anytime I even hear honorable, I'm wondering which one. Because even the councillor in the local government
It's an honorable.
is honorable.
But at least he's won a position. He's in a position. You try and win something first.
So can we say honorable elect?
The honorable elect. You have to be elected first. Elected first. Oh, well, look, that's what the APC chairman is emphasizing here. You must emerge through elections, Adamo tells Abbas Kalu. We've not endorsed any candidates, that's according to the greater majority. So a number of other stories you see right there, pages 2, 5, and 31, highlighting those stories for you. CBN revokes 179 microfinance banks, others licenses. NDIC assures depositors on claims payment. So what have they done? Why have these licenses been revoked? Page 3 is where you see that.
And I think people should just go ahead and find out which ones, because it is possible that the ones whose licenses have been revoked by the CBN are still very active. And unsuspecting Nigerians, marketers, traders could still be using them. So people should
be very careful.
educate.
Check out that list, indeed. And just this last one, presidential poll, court consolidates LP, APM, PDP's petitions against Tinubu. Commences hearing May 30th. So that's it. This is what I'm saying. Tinubu APC ban media interviews. I don't know. Make of it what you will. That story is on pages 3 and 4. Maybe you should run with the headlines, but it's right there. Tinubu APC ban media interviews on what? Okay, maybe with regards to the court cases.
Well, I'm curious on that one.
Yeah,
I'm definitely.
You might want to check it out on pages 3 and 4. Let's leave it there for New Telegraph.
The Guardian newspaper has this on its front page, and it's about oil. Division over oil search in North as NNPC returns to late chart. Find that story on page 6. Questions around that, because on the one hand was the one that the president was there to commission or groundbreak, whatever it was, and then this. Find the details of that on page 6 of the paper this morning. Now, there are two stories, Mark, that I think you'll find interesting. 6 days to go, Buhari clears over 40 pending memos, appoints agency heads. That's on page 6. But on page 4, concerns as Buhari withholds assent to sexual harassment bill, days to exit. Stories on page 4. The details you'll find, of course, on those pages of the paper. Nigeria absents as African leaders fall to global debt financing models. You'll find that on page 15 of the paper this morning. A number of other stories you'll find right there, but that's the Guardian newspaper this morning.
Well, take a look at Daily Trust next. Ministers hand over ahead of cabinet dissolution. Of course, they have to. Pantami's belongings moved out of ministry. Of course, it has to be as well.
Why is this being singled out?
Well, I just wonder.
Or maybe it was anyone they saw?
No.
Or is he the one that stayed late?
No, for every story there has to be an example. So please, let's not make an issue.
Oh, so this is an example.
It said ministers, right? So that's an example.
Okay, but they say also Pantami's belongings moved out of ministry. FCT minister orders more demolitions. Aviation ministry appoints 20 new directors. Sadia in projects commissioning galore. FEC in marathon meeting. So, well, look, you could make of this what you will, but the aviation ministry is one interesting scenario. There are lots of perspectives, but you could almost imagine that several people are just holding their breath, waiting to see where all of this is headed, and then, because, I mean, after May 29, you definitely will have a lot more reaction concerning operationalizing some of these things, because having done them at this point, it's not, it's definitely going to be one key area where several people will look to. Well, several other headlines here, but the dailies have highlighted all of these ones, but one that also stands out: UK bars Nigerian students, others from traveling with family. Well, they did say that persons who had come there abused that law, and so because of that now, this is what they're coming up with. So it's part of the reasons why we need to look at the way we do certain things as well, and knowing that, look, if you did some things here and you got away with it, in several other climes, they do things differently, and we should be mindful of all of that, because it will have consequences, and you never know who it will affect. And now,
was it really about abuse? I think it was the percentage of people who were traveling with families. So I remember I saw this graph, this statistic, where they showed the number of students who had come into the UK over the last 1 year, those from China, India, a number of other countries, and then Nigeria, and the proportion of them who came with families. When you look at, I mean, almost 80% of Nigerians were traveling to the UK with their families. I mean, that's Nigerian students. When you compare with, say, 10% from, say, China or India or anywhere else, we had a significant proportion of our people traveling, students. So I think that might have given them something
in some of those quarters, they did say
about.
that no, Nigeria's case was no, that this is not how they expected them to apply those laws, and then they had to say no. They put a ceiling on that one. Remember the green card to similar narrative, but
I think it also goes to conversations we've had here on this program a number of times. That look, if we had it good enough at home,
indeed,
why go around?
Want to travel with their families?
Yeah, I mean, education. I was just having a conversation yesterday with someone. I was saying, look, it was in this same country. Medical tourism was to Nigeria, not from Nigeria. Yes.
Even for academics too, it was
exactly. I mean, the UCH in Ibadan, for instance, we heard as people came all the way from Canada, US, and the rest of them to have children. They have their babies here. The best doctors, if you wanted to be relevant, then you came to University of Ibadan. So what happened to all of that? How did we reverse that? So we didn't put a ceiling then, and we were having it so good. Where did we drop the ball? Let's just find out what happened and then go back there.
Go back there. Big, well, I think that's basically where we should be looking. Not looking for motions on the floor of the house, because somebody was moving a motion on the floor of the house in regards to that. I was wondering, are you for real?
I don't believe you.
What wouldn't you hear? Well, we'll take a look at this. Nigerian Tribune, why I closed borders, banned rice importation. That's according to Buhari, says only God can effectively guard Lake Chad to Benin border, which is 1,600 kilometers. Explains why he chose women as ministers of finance. Okay, so that was deliberate. Oh well, we need to ask the president if he really made a difference. I said, if anybody forces me, I have a good relationship with my neighbors. Niger people will defend me, he restates. Inaugurates second Niger bridge. Southeast governors name it after him.
So, how does that sound, though? Niger people will defend me.
No, does that even need it? Well, I don't know what background, but does that need any telling? I mean, I'm just wondering. The governor of Ogun State could have said the same thing. The governor of Lagos could say the same thing, right? A number of governors all over the nation could say the same thing to their international neighbors, couldn't they?
So what, does this speak about allegiance or something?
I don't know.
Well, he said he has cousins there, doesn't he?
So
It's a possibility. I mean, considering the fact that, you know, how close
closeness.
Daura is to, I don't think the governor of Lagos can say the same. Maybe I can. Maybe I can, though. I mean, I seem to understand where the president is coming from. But take a look at this. Sheon Kuti released on bail. That is also there. Yes, freed after how many days in police custody? Horse trading, look at this, is it. NAS presiding officers, horse trading may accommodate North Central. So that, not the door on North Central is not closed just yet. Story is somewhere inside the paper. But that's all we'll have to leave it for Nigerian Tribune.
The Daily Times, very quickly. The PEPC, Tinubu APC bar lawyers from speaking with journalists. I guess that cleared the air. And the consolidated petitions by LP, APM, PDP for hearing May 30. Adoptions of final addresses on August 8. Under the picture you see there on the front page, 10th National Assembly leadership, APC mulls retraction of endorsement after fresh media assessment. APC online TV places Izunaso ahead Akwa Yari Kalu. Tinubu 6 presiding slot for North Central. All of that you'll find packed on the front page, continues on the inside pages of the paper today.
So is that it?
Yep. So many others to go if we want to continue about this Nigeria.
Okay, you can go ahead and take a look at that as well then. So,
There's this Nigeria, there's also
Nigeria.
leadership newspapers.
Okay, look at this Nigeria, for instance. U.S. President Biden's team for Tinubu's inauguration as former UK Prime Minister Blair visits President-elect. And of course, I got people sending me some narratives about that list, but who knows? Tribunal merges Obi Atiku's petitions despite pushback from Tinubu APC. Then you see this at the bottom strip. 10th Senate leadership, Akwa woos Wike leads senators to his residence as Rivers governor best performing in Nigeria. What do you expect them to say? It says he's wooing him. So if you have to woo him, you have to use the wooing language so that your wooing will be successful. So whatever success means.
Imagine that only women could be wooed, but how wrong am I? I am.
No, you know, there are various words for that. There are other synonyms. One of them is lobby.
Okay. It could mean different things. And it could be implemented or operationalized in different ways here. They all just lump everything. And so that's why you go to some areas, some quarters, and they tell you, listen, no lobby allowed in this area. If you want to lobby, not within this area, just nothing whatsoever. Well, that's Nigeria. So there you go. I think that ends it with a look at some of the dailies, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we will be back in just a moment. Join us again.
The 23.4-kilometer Etinan Eket Road connecting Ibom, Ibom, Eket and Etinan local government areas is wearing a new look. A reason why the Akwa Ibom state government is hosting former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, who is here to inaugurate the project, and residents of the area turn out in their numbers to receive him and witness history.
Young students, young male youths.
Some prominent indigenes of the area, including the governor-elect, commend Governor Udom Emmanuel for the project. Governor Emmanuel says the completion of the project is in line with his campaign promises to the people.
Today is such a special day. Special in the sense that we're also trying to show that we're highly focused. We're also trying to show that we are dedicated and committed to what we took an oath of office for. We're also trying to let the whole world know that when we said that we worked to the last day before we hand over the baton to the next governor, who will run a marathon race as if he's running a 100-meter race.
Describing Governor Emmanuel's performance as impressive, Chief Obasanjo advises political leaders in the country to ensure peace and security in order to have a meaningful development in the country, while frowning at political leaders with questionable character.
It is not my experience with one governor when I was president of Nigeria. He invited a former president to commission a project. He invited vice president to commission the same project. And then he invited me to commission the same project. And it was when I was commissioning the project, people told me that you will be the third person to be invited to come and commission this project. Governor, you are not a governor like that. When you have peace, when you have security, when you have stability, you have the basics that you need for economic development and progress. And of the Son,
amen,
and of the Holy Spirit,
amen. Now we please put our hands together for His Excellency.
More projects executed by the Udom Emmanuel administration are expected to be inaugurated before the May 29th handover date.
Sunrise Daily. Yes, indeed. Today we've got His Excellency Udom Emmanuel, Governor of Akwa Ibom State, here with us this morning. Good morning, Your Excellency. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Good morning, Chamberlain.
Wow, what a session, what a time, 8 years, just like that. I do remember the very first time and the first interviews you were just coming in, you spoke about the lofty plans that you had, what you wanted to implement in the state, but today, it's all coming to an end. What kind of feelings go through your mind looking back?
First of all, let me start by saying good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, Akwa Ibomites in the diaspora, and all Akwa Ibomites watching me right now. My first gratitude, looking back, is to say, God, thank you. Secondly, is to say, Akwa Ibom people, thank you for your support. But the feeling now is, I feel fulfilled. If you set up targets of your deliverables, and in a situation where you are subnational, you don't control policies, and also operating in a developing economy, where a lot of indices can run riot overnight. And at the end of the day, you take stock. Even opposition can score you 90%. Even opposition can score you 90%. You feel fulfilled.
They actually scored you 90%?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But you know the standard you set for yourself, coming from the private sector. Correct. And how you performed there.
Correct.
So when you got into government, how did it all play out? Because there's several people too who look to see, yes, I have this kind of plans, this is what I want to do, but getting into government, did you achieve what you set out to achieve? Did you perform as much as you wanted to?
No, but precisely that's what I just explained now. I say looking at those targets that I set, and judging from those factors that I already mentioned, I think, you know, at times what you see from outside is different from what is inside. So bringing all these things into consideration, I still believe I've done so well. A governor that 3 days to go, 27 more projects to commission. And these are not just these are not political projects. These are life-touching projects. I'm sure even as yesterday you saw, we took on 2 projects, in the rural development that voted for us. We said we're going to open up rural access. So we went to the Palm Belt, opened up roads that over the years they've not had roads. We went in, opened General Hospital, well equipped with 2023, 2024 equipment. And you could see people were excited, people were happy. Once I leave here now, I'm going to open the first ever and the best skills acquisition center in West Africa. And as soon as I leave there, we have a passion for youth and sports development. We've done a practice stadium we have 3 teams. We have stadium in Eket, we have the Nest of Champions, where the national teams use, and we just believe that we needed another stadium for Uyo Township, just to bring up talent. And I'm commissioning that by 3 p.m. These are laudable projects. These are projects that, goes to what is written, that people might not understand today, but hearing after, they will get to see the vision of what we are trying to do. I think I feel so fulfilled. I mean, also judging from the fact that this is a government, 2 major recessions and COVID-19. And even with that, we're not giving excuses. This is a government, even in 2016, 2017, where, so many states were owing salaries in double digits of months, and where what we were collecting at that time was nothing compared to our first line charge. But by God's given talent, God's given ingenuity, God's given capacity, we're able to weather the storm, and we're still running, we're still doing projects. So some of these things are things that you just look backward, even yourself, you marvel. I remember when last you interviewed me and then you mentioned things that everybody could see. Take, for example, like Ibom. I said I had the vision of Ibom as at April 2015, before I was sworn in on May 29. So these are things that we've actually sat back, and one person that came to office prepared, had my blueprint, had everything ready, and every day, if you come to my doorpost, you see everything I noted there. So whenever I achieve, I go and take, I go and market, I go and market. And by the time I mark 90% in this kind of economy, the harsh economy of Africa, oh, my brother, I think you look back and then you feel fulfilled.
Your Excellency, something that you said, earlier, continues to buzz my mind in your response to Chimelin's first question, which was, you don't control certain policies.
Absolutely.
You don't control certain institutions of government. Perhaps by way of a lesson in governance, how easy or difficult is that? Because the expectation sometimes is that there will be that collaboration between the federal and state governments. The Nigerian doesn't care who does what, they just want it done. And you have been able to weather those storms. What are the challenges? Is it political? Is it economic? Is it a bird's eye view that of the president or presidency or the federal government that the state government doesn't have? What are the challenges?
I would like to rephrase that question and say that based on my experience in the past 8 years, what would I love to see going forward? I would love to see Nigerian state, let me put it that way. As a student of government, although I'm not one, I would like to see a situation where once election is over, we leave partisanship. We shouldn't relate with one another based on the political party you belong to. We shouldn't attend to you based on that. We should look at things that impact the people so that we can move forward. And secondly, too, we must learn to put a square peg in a square hole. Sir, as you're sitting there, if you are looking for, let's say, chief operating officer of your company, do you know how many pages of qualification you publish in all the newspapers? At times you go up to Financial Times looking for a Nigerian anywhere in the world. But you know it's not the same thing with government and governance? So these are some of the problems that we have. And going forward, I'm not saying we can achieve that overnight. Going forward, we can gradually build towards that. I'm not saying totally when you win an election, no, come on, you can't ignore your political party. But there are certain, assignments. There are certain job responsibility profiles that must be performed by certain people in order to ease it. And secondly, too, there are a lot of bottlenecks, so many layers of institution on something that we could just cut across. Take, for example, I'm not criticizing, I'm just giving you an example. How many institutions do we have in terms of power sector that you think, jumping all those hurdles could be a problem? Because take, for example, I wanted to set an example in terms of utility company, because you don't know how I feel when people just make it look as if this power sector something is a rocket science. So I call my people, I say, if I generate 150 megawatts of electricity, I give to the national grid. They don't pay me. They don't pay me. I said, okay, why can't I just at least bring that power and then distribute to my people? I applied for license. It took over 3 years to get that license. The license came out just a few days before election, and I'm exiting. How will I implement that vision? Because I wanted to make that also a similar model to let it work so that people could see. You know, the same challenge we had when we were trying to form an airline. They said, how can a subnational own an airline? So country, this country, big countries, they don't own a subnational. But we came up with a business model that can make it work. The only problem we're having now is, being a state now, we can't have similar capital. We can't have the same access to funds like, a private sector. But with that, we still try to show that with the right strategy, the right systems, and then probably the right shared values of the people, you can actually do something. So that's the same thing. So I'm giving you as an example. So you have NBED, NEC, you have this. There are so many. We have to at least look at some of these things and reform them so that we can move forward. Because over 200 million people, there are certain things they cannot wait that long.
Your Excellency, I find it very interesting that when you were talking about power, you said, I'm not criticizing. What would be wrong if you were criticizing?
I know. Because
what I really want to know is how big an impediment was the problem? Because you said something about after elections, political parties should be set aside, and those who have been elected should be dealing with each other for the benefit of the people whom they have been elected to govern. How big an impediment was that for you?
Well, it's not easy to say all, because you see, I like moving forward. Once I achieve results, I'm one person who counts blessing, I don't count cost. So if you're somebody who does not count cost, but you count blessing, even the songwriter, when we were in primary school, he said, count your blessings. He didn't say, count your suffering, count your challenges. So once you achieve result answers all challenges. So I wouldn't want to go over those challenges, but I can only advise, going forward, this is exactly what I would expect. Because the way the population is growing and the economy is not matching it, it could be a big problem in the near. This one is not even medium term, in a very short term.
The problem is still there. Yes, you're giving your advice, and your successor is going to meet that challenge on the ground. If it is something that is a challenge, that was a challenge for you, perhaps you might want to share how to navigate it.
Oh, sure. That's why, you see, let me say something. God does not make mistake. It has never happened. If God brings you, say, come and lead Nigeria, He must have prepared you for those things. Except it's a permissible will. But if it's a proper divine, He must have equipped you. Let me say something. The kind of successor I have has tremendous capacity, has the experience, and he knows these challenges. Because I asked him, I said, can I see your blueprint? Assuming you are elected the governor, can I see your blueprint? And I'm impressed with that. Because you see, let me also tell you something, the problem we're having in Nigeria. Do you know, even people go to meetings, ordinary meetings, even management meetings of their corporations, unprepared. Somebody will just wake up and then just go and attend management meeting where policies are formulated, not to talk of where destinies of 7.9 million people are entrusted in you.
You asked to see his blueprint?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you ask to see the blueprint of other aspirants?
No. His own is more important to me because, as you just mentioned, you didn't mention any other state. You said my successor. So if he succeeds, I've succeeded.
Okay, so that is, you mean it was before, after the elections that you asked to see?
After nomination.
After nomination?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I'm just wondering, how far away or close are we to ensuring that we blur that line in picking the right people, even amongst the political circle? Because it is right there that, it also matters there. Who they choose has a lot of impact in whether or not they win, because most times most times they usually emerge. So how close are we to ensuring that we get it right?
It's difficult to answer that generic question. I can only pin it down to my own state. Let me also say something. No two elections can ever be the same since you were born until we leave this planet Earth. No two anywhere in the world. Go and check. No two elections can ever be the same. And no two people come to the office the same way. Go and review. From independence till today, I'm sure you will prove me right. So if it happens that way, it's not a formula, it's not mathematics. Or sorry, it's not arithmetic, because you know mathematics at times, people still try to fault the formula. But in arithmetic, 1 plus 1 will never be 2. That's arithmetic. But in mathematics, a mathematician will try to form something. So it is extremely difficult to say, oh, this should be the process, or this is the right process, and so on. It depends on who you are. It depends on what you do. It depends on what you believe in. There are some people that just believe, oh, by intuition. Oh, there are some people that purely just look at themselves. They don't look at the people. I'm looking for somebody who will do A, B, C, D, who will do this. And no, come on. I don't think in our state we go through that process. In our state, we look at many, many other things. And of course, that's why people come out to vote en masse. You can see the winning margin between the guy who won and the next person. Even if you put all the parties of all other political, all the votes cast for all other political parties together, you can't even match what the winner got. So people, whether you like it or not, people will always know light and darkness. The question is, do we agree to follow light? No matter how people, try to show, people know what is good and what is bad. And I'm sure you know that. Even Paul says so. He said, what I'm supposed to do, I find myself not doing it. Is that which I'm not supposed to do, I find myself doing it. That's politics.
But would you say you really succeeded if the economy of Akwa Ibom State is still largely dependent on oil?
Well, you see, in life, you use what you have to get what you want. So why wouldn't I be? But be that as it may, you could see we are trying to diversify. I told you, if you remember our last interview, what were those things we tried in Agric? In 2020, I don't know whether it didn't happen to other states who were badly challenged. Onions. We might think it's a simple thing, but when there was that crisis, and onions were not coming from those states that we were buying from, you could now see the people that you were leading crying for it. You now realize how important it could be. So in my meeting, I told my people, I said, look, can we try something? We have greenhouses. Let's also try a model inside and try a model outside. And try different temperatures and different time zones. And my brother, it came out excellent.
Is that the hydroponics?
Sorry?
The hydroponics?
No.
Which one is that?
No, not hydroponics. You see, the one we did outside there was pure, natural, open air, open sun. That's the one that grew. The one you're saying hydroponics, that's the greenhouses. That one did not actually move. Because you see, even the sprinkling of the liquid fertilizer on that one does not go well with the onions. So the one you grow, normal, natural, open air, open sun, open ground, everything, not even adding anything. Those were even the ones we had better results. The one that you're saying is fine, it's good for other vegetables. That process is good for other vegetables, and it also depends on where you're getting it from, because the quality also differ. But we checked that. I'm not an agri-scientist, and I limit myself to the areas that I'm proficient. But I know common man sense will tell me that I should try something and see if it works. And it worked out well. So at times, if you are not challenged, you cannot actually see what you have. So you asking me now, do you think we can grow with oil? For today, oil is still very relevant. So if oil is relevant, let me use what we have to get what we want. We are trying to diversify. You can see the only virgin coconut oil refinery in Africa is in Akwa Ibom. No other place. We tried. We didn't find it anywhere. We didn't see it anywhere. We just sat back and said, look, if palm trees can grow this way, coconut can also grow. Hybrid. And we started planting. Our target, I said so, is about 2 million seedlings. If we do that, and we have a factory now that can process 1 million nuts every day in 3 shifts. And you know, a virgin coconut oil in the market is $6 per liter. So, I mean, compare that with the price of crude oil. 221 liters make 1 barrel. So multiply that, then you now know which one pays you better. So these are some of the means of diversification that we are into. And we know it's going to be medium term. It will take 3 to 4 years for those coconut to yield very well. I mean, bearing all unforeseen circumstances. And these are some of the things we do. As I'm talking to you right now, I don't have time. even with the heavy rainfall we have in our area, I'm trying to set up a tomato puree paste factory where, we have a very short season for tomato and other vegetables, where once they harvest in that season, it does not waste after because it does not find a market. There must be.
You have only a few days to go now.
That's why I said I don't have time to commission that, but it's ready.
Okay.
I'm just trying to let you know it's ready. If you are there today, you see them test running.
A number of these interventions and a number of these businesses which you have, because they're businesses, they have industries which you have set up, are state-run. That's correct. Mm-hmm. First, I want to know why it's been difficult to get some of the big names or to get big investors into Akwa Ibom State. Why has it been difficult?
No, you see, you can't single out Akwa Ibom State. Look at Nigeria as a whole. Is Nigeria having that investment climate friendly? I mean, it's a question I do not answer, but you might help me to answer that. When people read something, they don't read about Akwa Ibom, they read about Nigeria. They read about Nigeria. In a country where you have like how many exchange rates? I mean, if I'm a financial expert, I'm advising my client, which rate am I going to advise him on? In a country where you just wake up one morning, you say, oh, this level of insecurity, it doesn't matter where it is. See, money is a coward. It will never go to where it does not feel safe. That's money, is a coward. So if money does not feel safe in a particular country, you won't find money there. It's a big coward. Even you, I'm sure, there are certain places you can't keep your money because it might not feel safe. And that's the nature of money. So what's investment? What's foreign investment? It's money. It's money. You're being attracted to come and do something for you. But even with that, I still believe we have a whole lot. We've attracted a lot. Right now, if you come in some of those riverine areas, people are setting up methanol plants. We've attracted ammonia fertilizer plant also, even though there are a lot of bottlenecks. So gas is like, sugar. If we really have a proper policy that drives this, because of gas in these areas, it should attract a whole lot. But that's why one of the things I also said at the beginning, that because we don't control policies, there are certain things we know to do, but we cannot do them.
Okay, so that's the challenge. That has been the challenge. So right now, government has had to take it upon itself to build this industry because, what your people really want, apart from infrastructure, you also want to give them jobs. There needs to be a means of livelihood. I'm wondering, what are the plans for sustainability? Because there are those who hold very strongly, and I know that we've had this conversation before with regards to Ibom Air and the fact that government set it up. We recall that it's not the first time that government has tried to set up an airway, Nigerian Airways, for instance, and it's no longer existent. So, what exactly is a sustainability plan? It might be well and good when the person who set it up is there, but what do you think should happen? Do you think it should go to the stock market? Do you think that investors now should be brought on the ground to see how it is that they can become stakeholders? What should happen?
I started by giving some essays of successes, strategies, systems, styles, and all those. But the question there is, did we bring this to bear when we're setting up these factories? The answer is yes. The Ibom Air you're saying, you see, it's wrong also to say government set it up. There's no state government in the whole of Africa that I know today, let me limit myself to Africa, that have ever tried what we've tried. We are bold to do it because we've set up the right systems. We have the right shared values that can run it. You see, no country succeeds or fails if not for the people. I can boastfully say here that the people we have to run, take for example, the Ibom Air. Even if I close my eyes and leave, the only thing we need is, is something that from time to time you must call up capital so that you can move on. It's a business I know with the shared values we have, because you see, you must also know the kind of industry that you enter. Like aviation industry, culture matters a whole lot. Aside this, what you have in place. So it's something that I know that is sustainable, very sustainable. And some of those cottage factories that I'm not ashamed to say it, our people, run differently in some of these. So like those cottage industries, what I did was to just go to the Asian market. And I recruited somebody who had done it before, who knows what to do. Even the utility company, I wanted to go to countries where people have already done it, and they know the challenges. They know the right policies and processes to set up to make it succeed. That's where we wanted to start from. If you also talk about Ibom, look at the two anchor arrowheads. So that will let you know that these people have done it and they know what to do and they are doing the right thing. So I think the problem is not what you set up. It's the people you give to run what you set up. And then your level of interference.
Do I understand you clearly? Are you saying that Asians are the ones running the cottage industries?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Because, you see, they've done it. Let me tell you something. Take Nigeria now today. Look at the consumption of all the tomato paste. Who are those canning it? Malaysia, Indonesia, and so on. That's where they are canning it from. These are people who have run this and they succeed.
Is that supposed to be for a while and then they transfer?
Oh, no, for a while, because they must transfer skills.
Okay.
Oh, for a while.
Perhaps
you see, whatever we do, once we have the MD, we have the Chief Operating Officer, who must understudy. You understand? Even the skill acquisition center that I'm opening today, once we have somebody who is like, let me say, the provost, we must also bring any of our people who will understudy so that there might be that transfer of knowledge and skills.
Perhaps, Your Excellency, the question Akwa is asking is whether or not it is the government that runs it or it's a private sector, government-enabled, private sector run or led initiative, these businesses that we are talking about.
Okay. You know, there are two things here that will be involved, ownership and management.
Okay.
I would say government owns, but people who know what to do runs. Because it's not just enough to use that word management. You can have all sort of management that will run it at ground overnight. People who know what to do are those running it. The government owns it.
Which begs the question of the issue that Akwa again raised when she cited the example of Nigeria Airways. It was also run by people who supposedly knew what to do, but it was owned by government and a number of people.
So what do you think was wrong with it? Let me learn.
No, I don't know. I'm just asking you because there are those who would say that it was run at ground because the government owned it and there was a lot of influence of government officials. So
you're coming back now to probably the issues. Sorry, sir. As I'm sitting here as a governor, you can cross-check. I have never one day introduced a cleaner. I'm not even talking about a professional staff, a cleaner to Ibom Air. Never. Never. Not to talk of saying, oh, this pilot or this flight attendant, come and work it. I have never done it. And people who are close know that I will not do it. I allow them run in a very professional manner. That's why I say, a bigger cow, it might be more difficult to feed than, a smaller calf. So
is there an insulation system for the businesses, the cottage business, the airline, and all of those, that subsequent governments will not come and say, well, that was Governor Udom Emmanuel, I'm the one in charge now, I want to introduce people. Is there an insulation system for the businesses so that government officials don't infiltrate?
Yeah, I think if successive governments try to break, that's why, if you hear me, I've repeated not less than 3 times this word shared values. The culture. The day you break that culture, it means a lot of people will resist it. And once people resist it, you won't even like to carry the consequences as a politician. So I think we built that culture so well that even the man himself will think twice before he tries to break it. Honestly, he will think twice. Let me even tell you a simple culture that we have. Simple, very simple. It might sound very simple, but it helps. Even me, as a governor, promoter of the airline, if I'm flying and I'm late by 1 minute, they can never wait for me. Which is probably what you used to see in those days. They say the proprietor is coming. Everybody had boarded. They will sit down and wait. It can never happen in Ibom. It's not possible. It's not possible. Instead of that, they will leave you when you come back, fire everybody, and then you go and run the airline. So there are simple things that matter, that people must keep to it. A simple queuing theory, simple things. So these are simple, we call it simple, but honestly, those are the things that actually keep some of these organizations running.
Well, one other issue that Akwa mentioned in passing is that of employment.
Correct.
It's also referencing an issue Chamberlain also stated is the economic capacity of the states before you came and now. How many jobs have you been able to create in these 8 years with these government businesses, government-owned businesses as you talked about, and what's the projection going forward?
Let me also say something. In a developing economy, let's go back a little to our economics class. In a developing economy, where unemployment in the whole country is huge, That is why you see us driving a whole lot of infrastructure. What government would do immediately to build in strength into that economy is to massively go on infrastructure development, and that's what we are doing. And in that case, we are yet to have that capacity that will capture that. I hope you know a common laborer with a construction company earns more than what you earn in the minimum wage. So they're actually better off. And this is not something that is temporary. If you look at the whole 8 years of this government, any area you enter is a construction site. And I can confidently say that out of 31 local government areas we are living today, there's no local government area we've not touched with 1 or 2 projects. So anywhere you turn in, there's one infrastructure or the other. I'm sure once you are landing at the airport today, you just think it's one construction site. Is it from the second runway, which also will serve as a taxiway? Is it the MRO that we've completed, that we're commissioning on Friday? Is it the most intelligent, terminal building in Africa? I mean, everybody is working. See thousands of people who are busy there. And mind you, as they are doing that, we're also transferring skills. The guy who is helping to weld, probably another person will come and tell him, no, you don't weld it this way, you weld this way. He's building capacity. He's trying to, really refine his quality. And that will come to play in the economy, whether you like it or not. So it's extremely difficult for you to go and be accumulating this data. By the time you do that, it's only people who are very successful. You know America now, they are very successful. Have you ever heard a president in America commissioning bridge or refinery or anything? Because they are very successful. Those are the people that they finish all that. They can now sit back to accumulate data and statistics. We have not even started. So we don't have that time. Let's continue to even get more. When we achieve it, we'll now start collecting information and data. But for now, it's going to be a waste of time, a waste of resources.
Speaking about what he mentioned, I remember, I think it was in 2020, when MBS released their data. Imo had the highest unemployment rate. Akwa Ibom was in the top 6, along with Adamawa, Rivers, and some states. And you, I think the state, you spoke about it.
Correct.
You said you were not that those figures don't quite add up. And
No, I didn't say those figures don't quite add up. I don't challenge figures because figures don't lie, but liars figure.
Okay.
There are two different things. Figures don't lie, but liars figure. What I challenged was that, Chamberlain, even before I was born, if you see like a shoe and so on, and that shoe looks nice, what will you say? It's made in where? Imo. By then, Imo and everything, we used to call it Aba made, because Aba and everything were under Imo. These are people in terms of entrepreneurship that are very, very high. So the question I asked in that interview was that, what was our sample size? How did we pick the sample out of the population? Where did we stand to pick the sample? It's very simple for somebody to just come to my state and then go to the plaza where you have, people who just want to feel all right. I mean, more than people who are actually doing comments there. And by the time you interview 2 or 3 people, oh, we don't have a job, we don't have a job. Did you actually stratify, the geographic population and then try to actually get the right statistics? Still tomorrow, I'm not questioning the what they publish, but I'm saying, what was the process? How did we get there? Till tomorrow, I've not seen it.
So,
because how can you say so? Thank God you also mentioned another state like that.
Yeah.
Today, go to all those areas. Go to all those areas. You see the shoes, everything that is made. Come to our own area. You see a lot of things that people are also involved in. And I'm sure if you are in the social media, you can see in the past 1 month, you see what we're doing on what we call medium enterprises, empowerment that we're trying to do. People in all fields, which is also what had given rise to the Skill Acquisition Center that I'm commissioning today. So there are certain things that, I keep telling you, it is one thing for people just, and let me also say something, Chamberlain, which I would also like to see. Today, 80% of crayfish eaten in Nigeria come from Akwa Ibom State. How does it come out? What will you call that? An average person who deals in that might even be richer than a very high-level placed person in the financial services. Take it from me.
So, but assuming that they were able to expand their sample size, chances are that the results may be marginal. But
I disagree.
Okay, but the result they came up with at the time was over 50%. Now, since you disagreed with that, did the state conduct their own research? What was it that you found?
Okay, let me also say something. I started by something, I don't know whether you listen to me very well. I say, in Africa, it is difficult to even conduct that. Let me tell you something. Right now, do you know how many people that are engaged in aquaculture. And do you know what it takes to cross one blue sea to an island in Akwa Ibom, in rivers, in all these riverine areas? Which statistician will cross that? Which statistician will cross that? Even you, if we put it in that water.
An empowered statistician will cross that.
Excuse me. So, you see, when we just come and in a very haphazard manner, we just run into these conclusions. So my brother, that's not, you see, that's not the issue. The issue there is, will be extremely difficult because you need to also look at the peculiarity of different areas and different zones and then use that to develop how you want to go about it. Use that to develop the procedures and how you want to go. And also, if you're doing that, the state also have statistics department. Did you actually come and collaborate with them? The answer is no.
Okay, so the methodology is one thing. But you asked that because, I mean, you come from an industry where you deal with a lot of figures.
Yeah.
You're doing projects based on figures for people. And if you miss it, you largely will overshoot and you won't achieve the reasons why you're doing that. So that's what I'm asking.
No, I do projects based on budget.
Yeah, but budget, if you're doing project for a certain community, certain people,
no, this one
it's for a certain amount of people.
No, this statistics.
So statistics and figures, semantics.
Take, for example, I'm telling you that in our second term, we're much more interested in rural and riverine development. If you only base that based on the number of people staying there, you will miss it. Consumption is a function of availability. Because they don't have it, you won't know how many people will consume it. So the first thing there is build it first. The consumption will determine that. Because what you do as a leader, you see potentials and then you try to develop it. So you can't measure that before you go into it. That's why I say that simple marketing 101, that consumption is a function of availability. So you cannot measure what is not available to know whether people will consume it or not. So today, make those access routes, go back to those palm belts, see that whether what used to happen in those ancient days, where people were using lorries to carry palm kernel oil, palm oil all over the place, whether that will suffice again. I hope you know today, while we were exporting, we are now importing the palm oil. You never can tell whether lack of infrastructure in most of these places could cause it, because technology is moving.
Yeah, but so you should tell us, because one of the things you notice when you are approaching Akwa Ibom, if you're about to descend by air, is the
lush green.
Yeah, the lush green and the fact that you have palm trees in abundance. And it does appear that it's palm trees that have not been planted by anyone. It looks like it's something that nature...
No, they are planted by God.
Yes, that nature has endowed Akwa Ibom State with. So the big questions to ask as to how that has been harnessed in the light of the fact that Nigeria currently imports palm oil. I know that the CBN at some point was trying to reverse that for some of the policy that it was putting in place. So I'm wondering, were you able to take advantage of that to see how you could key into supplying Nigeria some of the palm oil you needed?
No, you see, we can't achieve that overnight. The question you ask me is, how many have we set up? Today, if you come to a place like Okanafun, where we have a whole lot of palm, palm fruit, palm trees there, we've set up a big processing plant there that, crush, now extract the virgin palm kernel oil, and they're about going to refinery. And it's PPP. So and you could see how that helped even a local woman. Instead of a local woman sitting from morning till night to process palm oil, once she fetches the palm fruit, she goes there to process. What she used to do in 1 week, in 2 weeks, she can now do it in 1 day or 2 days. And that's the essence of government, trying to make ease of doing business, much easier.
So they still get to own the palm fruits that they are able to harvest?
No, you own the land, and the palm fruit on it becomes automatically your own. That's African culture.
No, I'm wondering, one of the reasons why people are scared, much as people want big businesses to come over,
correct.
They found out that oftentimes it impoverishes the local people instead of it to enrich them, especially those who have been local landowners. If you now have maybe a big business come in, set up its own, have its own land, have its own factory, correct, you might now find that the people who used to do it by hand, have now found out that they're missing their markets. Because they're slower, they're not getting as much benefits, etc. And maybe they now have to work for those companies for something that might not really profit them at the end of the day. So I'm wondering if there is a model in place to ensure that
let me tell you the challenges we have, not only in Nigeria, in Africa as a whole. Number one is inappropriate pricing. And that could also be one of the reasons I say lack of infrastructure. A whole lot of simple technology now will use electricity. And people will need access to take those things out of that local community, because a lot of them, mind you, they don't have cars, they don't have trucks, they don't have any means of moving those things out. But now, once you create access, there could be commercial vehicles that can actually do that also for a living, while those other people do their own. So it's inappropriate pricing, not that they actually impoverish this, it's inappropriate pricing. That's number one. Then number two, these people will also come. Because take, for example, the Ufanini palm oil mill that we set up. Do you know they've been running on generator? How much of, in terms of, economies of scale, will you have that will actually do a lot that will make you make profit? You have to take that into consideration when you're running a 500 kVA with the diesel, price of diesel today and the diesel consumption. So it is not just one, hit approach. There are so many things that are interwoven. That's why you see us, when we came in and we said that, look, under our industrialization policy, that we need gateways that can actually do this. And there are major 3 gateways. And we approach the whole 3 at the same time. Today, I can confidently say that we have one of the best road networks in this country. And I can confidently say that you can approach us, do business today and go back today, because we have an airline. We have a functional airport. So you look at what will actually help people do what you want to do, not looking at the other side. Nobody will come to a place that cannot have access.
Well, we'll talk more about how the people have benefited. What impact has it had on the people in Akwa Ibom State when we return with our interview with His Excellency Udom Emmanuel. Join us again. Back to Sunrise, really just looking at some of those images. But Your Excellency, it's one thing to have projects, all kinds of projects in place. It's another to have the human capital to run it and ensure that things, but yes, you've given an example or two. But speaking broadly concerning the state, how are you collaborating with, say, educational and vocational training institutions so they can develop skills within the state and then they leverage on the employment opportunities that will abound?
Let me start by saying that we've identified gaps. And you know me, I like to simplify all processes. Coming in a very simple manner. Do you know when we were much younger, we used to have these exams they used to call trade tests. We used to have technical colleges everywhere, where people would go from there, they go and do HND, they were doing, automobile. Do you know these days, it is difficult for you to see a plumber that is trained. Who trains him where? Which is also why we are setting up one of the largest skills acquisition center. And it's in collaboration with the University of Lagos, local. And we are still in talks to sign an agreement with a major foreign partner so that they can transfer those skills. Because we've identified those gaps, extremely difficult. And nowhere, not just in Nigeria, it's the same problem a lot in Africa. Enter a whole lot of public places in Africa, you see that something that they build, maintenance will be a problem. You just bring a plumber who does not know what to do, will start chiseling the wall. Even to cover it back is a problem. So that decent looks, that proper finishing is a problem, not to talk of joinery and so many other things. So we've identified that gap. And that's what we're doing. Even the people who are getting under the medium and small scale enterprises scheme, a whole lot of them, I also discover, even when you try to empower them, try to get them the equipment and the rest of them, even those to service those equipment is a problem. Do you know, I share knowledge with you here right now, which is what also took me to a lot of training of these medical technicians. We had some modern machines, medical. And they told me those machines were not working. And these are brand new machines I got in from America. I was challenged. I just discovered that 80% of those people that said those machines were not working did not even know which part should go to where, what should go to what, where to even switch on the power. And you can't blame them. Because there must be continuous training in order to catch up with this. So, which is why we are setting up. We've done, ad hoc training, 3,000 youths, 1,500. But you see, the exit strategy there hasn't worked well. Because once those people come out, as a matter of attitude. They look up to government again. Oh, government employ me. That wasn't the plan. That wasn't the vision. But it's difficult to change that mindset, and it's an African mindset. So what you now need to do, like we are doing right now, like the skills center we are setting up, after a certain number of periodic training, we allow you to start earning something. Take for example, if we want to equip schools now with pupils or student seats, it's the skill acquisition center that will develop it for us, that will manufacture those things for us. So the money we would have paid to an outsider, we pay to them. And from there, those people can earn stipends. They will be encouraged to continue. And they will see money coming in, they will see inflow of money. And it will also help them psychologically to know that they are not wasting time. And they will be eager to learn more. Yeah. So these are gaps we found in Nigeria. Not only that, even your car, the auto electrical man there wasn't trained anywhere. That's why he gets to burn your brain box anyhow. That's why a lot of people check Lagos on the road on a Monday. You have the higher number of broken vehicles because on Saturday we are at the mechanic workshop. On Monday, those cars are disappointing them inside the traffic. So these things are just rule of thumb. But we can actually streamline the processes and actually see how these things work, which is the vision.
Yeah, perhaps an extension of that question.
Correct.
There's something you said earlier about the business climate, ease of doing business.
Correct.
Is there a plan for the government in Akwa Ibom State? I don't know how easy that will be, to factorize that for the micro, small, and medium enterprises that you mentioned earlier.
Correct.
Reason, you have literally opened up the state with the huge and diverse infrastructural developments all over the place. But with all of that, there's still the challenge of, first of all, business education. We'll come to the maintenance of this infrastructure. Business education for the small and medium enterprise business owners, the ones that you are training and all of that. And then the business climate itself. You must be daunted by the fact that things are cheaper in some neighboring countries than in Nigeria, even though those things are made and domesticated here in Nigeria. So in terms of capacity, is there a business enabling environment that Akwa Ibom State is creating to make it easy for the small business owners here to scale up? And how is the state helping in that regard?
Okay, it's a very broad question. I'm sure you know the first challenge, if you ask a lot of them, the first challenge they will tell you they have is power. And I took time to elaborate on that. Today, I'm one of the very few that generate electricity in this country. And I generate, on the average, every day, 150 megawatts. And this is where the value chain also has a problem. I generate 150 megawatts. I don't own transmission. Where would that end me to? The distribution company is, some kind of, semi-privatization, that wasn't even a model. That was African environment induced, a model. So whether it's IMF model or whichever model you're using, it wasn't tied to our socio-cultural systems. So it did not work, which is why I went for a utility company, because the distribution companies, it couldn't work. So, you see, that's why I say it's a very broad question. If I go that far, I make sure I generate, and now I want to make sure they have light, I want to make sure they have access road, I want to make sure they are trained. And if I get that now as government, I think the onus is on them, individuals, to rise up to that occasion. And if I also make sure basic education is free, up to the point that I pay for your WAEC fees, and once you live there, then we have a vocational training center for you to run. In fact, right now, there's a college I met. They call it School of Art and Science. I just discovered they were more of arts than science. And now I want to turn it to an intermediate technological institution. Where, take for example, once you leave secondary school, you can't just jump into Akwa Ibom State University to study engineering or any major science course. There must be an intermediate level which will bridge the gap. Because you see, even in the secondary school, it might not be the same, but that will bridge the gap so that once you get to university, certainly you will be able to get something much better. So These are things government do. And you know, it's only in Nigeria, sorry, let me put it this way. It's only in Africa. Everything is government. Everything is government. Everything is government, which is also what we are trying to look at. That's why I say this might not just be at the subnational level. There must also be deliberate policies.
Well, incidentally, I mean...
that will drive this countrywide.
Well, I agree with you, but which is why the question of collaboration between the federal and state governments was raised earlier. But perhaps, hopefully, we'll come back to that. But you talked about, you know, maintenance of the infrastructure the other time. And a sub of that would be how, I mean, these infrastructure are new. It might take a little bit of time before the opportunities it brings will manifest in the lives of people. What's the projection along that line? How soon do you expect that these things will begin to manifest in the lives of the people, as you know,
depending on what you put on ground. Okay. There are some that is not just purely like investment, you know, inclined. Okay. Take for example, I've done 20 hospitals, modern. When I say modern, there are certain hospitals you enter in Akwa, you think they are teaching hospitals. I'm not boasting. You can have a check. Some of those things is not just, the value is derived from day one. Because what was our driving policy? We said that you shouldn't take anybody more than 30 minutes to get help if you're in a very serious medical situation. It shouldn't take you more than 30 minutes to get help. And in each of those medical centers, we have ambulances. So that where the challenge is more than a secondary, you can move further to a tertiary, or you can move further to a specialist hospital. So we have that in place. But do you know the problem we're having as a people? Sir, a lot of the consultants I'm using right now are people who are retired. Why? Because the sharp brains. I had one of the best anesthetists in this country. I woke up one morning, he's out of the country. He told me, Oga, you know I love you. I mean, I like Akwa Ibom. I like my state. I love what I'm doing. But see the offer I'm getting. The guy's jetted out. And what also brings about that, the guy just looks at it. If I earn X dollars, I multiply that by 750. I can do this, I can do that, I can do that in Nigeria. The guy will go. And not only in terms of, so a whole lot of consultants I'm having today are people who are above 60, good ones. And you know, as I told them yesterday, medical is also like a mechanic who repairs the combo vehicle. By the time you even start the vehicle, he will tell you, oh, this is a knocking sound, or there's no oil, because he has seen all sorts over time. So those people, even if, no matter what, in terms of diagnosis, they are very good, because they have the experience. And what do you do? And the reason you are having them is probably because of their age. They can't start running all over again. But all these young ones in the 40s and early 50s and late 30s who are very, very good, my brother, it's so difficult to keep them. At times you have those hospitals, you have the equipment, you have everything. How many consultants can you attract? How many consultants do you have? And you know, the resources of the state is also limited, because where you're locating this hospital, what's their purchasing power? How many of them can pay for those services? And you know, if you treat malaria, I'm sure you know that, if you treat malaria abroad, the least I've ever seen anybody treat malaria abroad is about $960. How much do we treat malaria in Nigeria? 15,000.
Well, doesn't that also question the sustainability of these infrastructure? I mean, it was Malcolm that mentioned the sustainability angle the other time. We also talked about the maintenance. Maintenance is one leg of the sustainability.
Correct.
If the people are unable to have the buying power to sustain them,
the revenue derived
so
cannot meet those maintenance
exactly
costs.
So
you know what that means? It means government must continue to subsidize. There's absolutely nothing in Nigeria government is not subsidizing. Take it from me, absolutely nothing. The only thing probably I might say government is not subsidizing is water, because even water is so expensive. A bottle of water that is 75 CL, how much do you think it goes for? So that's the only thing. But every other thing, but even that water, if it's a public water works, government subsidizes. So we subsidize almost everything. Because you see, for you to earn revenue, to even have a payback, if I was to do a business, the kind of equipment I'm putting in those hospitals, I mean, how much do you think I would charge each patient to actually do that? But you know, in local areas, in some of these communities, some of them you finish treating them, they tell you they don't have anything. And because you value life as a leader, you just ignore. I can't tell you how many of, the citizens that we as governors, not only me, across the whole country, we have governors paying medical bills for every month. Many. Because, for example, they get to specialist hospital, this can be done. Life can be saved. I'll probably say like 2-3 million. And you say, okay, go ahead and send the bill to me and you will pay. So, and it's like that to almost all the governors. So I'm coming, let me land. That means that government will continue in a long time to subsidize a lot of those services. There's no gain pretending. The whole country, even in Africa, we must continue to subsidize.
So you don't see an end to the poverty issues being resolved then, anytime soon?
No, we will. I mean, we will resolve it, but it's just, that's why I say it's not one tick right factor kind of, solution. It's all embracing. A whole lot of things must be done at the same time.
Such as?
Take, for example, when we were campaigning under PDP, my principal told everybody, this is what I'll do. I'll privatize the refineries. And if I privatize the refineries, do you know how many jobs that will create? Do you know how much money I'll raise? If I raise $10 billion out of that and put that to engage these people, certainly I'll get results. So there are certain policies that we must deliberately take at the national level that will actually have that, chain and contagion effect that will drive a whole lot, that will have that scale that will drive a whole lot. But all these subnational, pockets here and there, it might not drive the volume that we are looking for. Let me give you an example. Take, for example, today, where we are located as a country, Nigeria, we can actually serve as a transshipment point to some of these Gulf of Guinea. Why do they need their own port when we are here, giant of Africa? So what do we need? Even with guarantees, people can set up those ports and we concession them for a certain number of years. Mm-hmm. The issue will not be the government make profit out of it, will be what is the economic value, the number of people that will be employed there. And as we service those other countries too, a whole lot of value will be created. You see, where we are today, I don't know, I get surprised when I hear all these smaller countries saying they are trying to set up a deal. What do they have? What's their consumption? The consumption, I keep saying, so the consumption of sugar alone in Lagos, so many African countries don't consume in 6 months.
So I'm wondering,
Lagos in 2 weeks. So we can actually use this to actually build what we are looking for.
Are you hoping to attract more people from different parts of Nigeria into Akwa Ibom? I mean, not just in terms of, tourism is certainly very good. That's all. There's an economic side to it. But in terms of also increasing the population, increasing the GDP, etc., those kinds of things. Are you looking to do that?
I'm not looking for population right now. I'm even in trouble. I'm even in trouble. Because of the free and compulsory education, I have a whole lot of people from neighboring states. There's a school, I just increased the facilities. They were almost like 3,000. If we didn't intervene, as of today, they were almost at 4,600. We don't know there. I'm even looking for a close-by community to set up something. Because you're running free and compulsory education at basic level and you're paying by fees. So I'm not looking for population. But to attract people, what do you do? Take, for example, I think end of last year, I know that people who are tired of certain cities, they also need an option. And if they need an option, where do they go? Can I create something where that option would be? I know within the past how many months, how many people have approached me. Can we use your Sheraton by 4 points? It's a proper, you need to see the facilities we put in there. It's a proper 4-star hotel that you can see in any Sheraton by 4 points anywhere in the world. So whether I like it or not, that will attract people. People are coming there to do conferences, seminars, and so on. And you know what impact that will do. So you say, if I do something purposely to attract the people, today we have one of the best golf courses. I didn't set it up. It was set up by Udom Victor, but I'm maintaining it. I'm making it up to international standard so that it continues to attract people. So the question is, I met also, some of the projects I completed them and then turned them to something else. Today, one of the best market squares is found in Akwa Ibom. It's a complete chain. So what you do with what you found on ground will also matter, whether people will come or not. And above all, what you do as a leader to make sure you achieve peace. A lot of people ignore that. What you do to achieve peace. I think plays a whole lot.
So let's talk about peace, because I know that a number of people who are watching this program are already beginning to say we need to ask you about the remapping of Akwa Ibom State. And you've mentioned that you're interested in remapping Akwa Ibom State. Do you want to shed a little more light on that?
I'm not saying remapping. Nobody has ever said that.
Well, they say this is according to, or will I say, with regards to the crisis between Ibeno and Eastern Obolo. And there are up to 2-3 people asking about this.
No, you see, there's a difference between map and remapping. Remapping means you already had a map, and then you are trying to remap that. But you see, he who sits on top sees the whole environment. Do you know as of today, there are certain things you cannot just sit publicly and start discussing. The same people sending you that message, ask them, when I came into power, we didn't have a simple anthem. I created an anthem, they all took it. We have a creed, they all accepted it. We have a state flag, an identity, they all took it. So what's the difference? And even what they are calling mapping, you see, it's not that people don't know what is right or what is correct. As I said earlier, people try to politicize almost everything. This thing you're hearing here now, what are they selling to the youths? That, oh, it's because of the PIA. Which PIA? Which PIA?
Does this have something to do with geographical mapping?
It's geographical mapping. But the question is, did we have one as a state before now? The answer is no. And you see, our peculiarity is different from others. It's different from others. We are in a state with the longest coastline, about 129.1 kilometers. So peculiarities are completely different. So there are certain things you do that people just hijack and misinform the people. That's what they are selling to the people, that you are doing the mapping so that you can take them out. Ask them, is there any of them, anybody had ever come and said that you've been here for 100 years, leave that place? There's absolutely nothing like that. So even this same thing they are saying, there was a time all of us within that area, take for example where I come from, all of us were called Eket Division. And today it's broken down into 4 local government areas. When we were only one, and we were called Eket Division, what did we lose? What happened? From that time till today, my ancient heritage, they are still there. So, you know, people at times leave the substance and chase the shadow. Because nobody is coming to tell you, oh, you are no more, take for example my village, you are no more from Onano. Nobody is saying that.
So you're not remapping?
It's not remapping. You see, we are doing a proper map for the state, which is official that we have. Today, we can't just be relying on other people. Then also, let me say something here. Whether we like it or not, you know we don't have so much land. Leave the shoreline people. There are certain local government areas that today, government will need to claim certain land, because before I was born, they've been fighting every year, killing people, burning houses. And meanwhile, what they take out of that farmland is now up to 100,000 naira, and lives are lost. So government must come and say, look, you can live here, you can continue to live. We're not telling you to go. But this land now is government. So nobody should claim ownership. If anything is done, it's government. But continue to, you know, exist. These are brothers, and they are killing people. So you see, people just think there's a straight line method of solving problems. There are certain things that you must also look at and solve it with the peculiarity of what you're inheriting. And this is all over everywhere. It's not only in Akwa Ibom. You know, we don't have so much land. So people fight so much over land in our area. And as government, you can't watch people being killed overnight. There are some local governments, let's even leave those shoreline, on the, you know, on the upper side, that some of these things happen. Because, I mean, we don't have that, I mean, everybody knows. We don't have enough land. So somebody coming to say it's PIA, it has nothing to do with PIA. It's a normal thing. You know, at times, people run away from their responsibilities as government, and it keeps creating problems. You hear somebody telling, oh, before I was born, this has been the problem. Must we continue with that problem forever? Why not look for a solution for that problem?
Well, we will look forward. We'll be looking forward when we return in just a moment of this break. So do join us again. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. It's our concluding moments with His Excellency Udom Emmanuel, Governor of Akwa Ibom State. We've spoken largely about infrastructure developments, the projects, the innovation, different things that you put in place in the state, even about what benefits the people. What because when you say that government spend, everything revolves largely around government, and then global economy, global society, people will always migrate economically. What measures specifically are you putting in place, or what should we be doing to ensure that we keep some of our best hands here in this country? Because look, this may just continue unabated if we don't do something about it.
You know, I keep mentioning that certain things can only be solved through national policies. If you look at it, it's not only affecting one particular subsector. Go to education, go to health, even ICT, even professional firms now. Check all the professional firms. In our days, even when they send you on an exchange program, you hesitate to go. You will only go because when you are out, all your salaries in Nigeria will still be there, and you'll be earning allowances there that will keep you. So when you come back, by the time they accumulate the salary you were not earning, you should be able to buy a car. That was the attraction then. Excuse me, but these days that's not the attraction. People are leaving for so many reasons. And I keep saying this, employees do not resign their jobs, they resign their bosses. Employees do not resign their jobs, they resign their bosses.
How do you mean?
They love that job, but probably what their bosses put in place for that job is what they don't like. So in this case, who are the bosses? Federal, state, local government, including those corporates who are employing them. And I'm serious. Those are, you see, because if I say this, they are looking at this thing. I just told you an example of a young man that is quite good. When I say quite good, really good, you can't stop such a young man. What they're offering him is huge. But also, you can also blame anybody. How much are we paying in Nigeria for education? How much are we paying for healthcare? So that's why I say it's not something a subnational can handle. It's something that has to be looked at holistically from the national point of view to see what can we really, really do and be sincere about it. What can we really, really do to build a strong economy that some of these things can actually, be reversed. If we don't do that, there's nothing I can do as a state. There's nothing state A or state B could do. We must all come together and map these things out.
Now, as we wind down, you gave an example of how when you put Ibom Air there, you don't interfere, you let professionals do what they have to do. But in politics, it's different. You talked about how you sought for his blueprint to ensure you got the right person, quote unquote, to come in and do that. You obviously will be optimistic and happy with the choice that you have made. Does that then mean that politicians, governors, for instance, will do well to take that level of interest, or they take a backseat and let the system play out?
That's why I say these things differ from state to state. And secondly, let me also say something here. I didn't say I look at the blueprint to pick him. After nomination.
Yeah.
Okay. After nomination. Because I need to know, what am I campaigning with? What do you have for me to campaign with? You've won the nomination, then what are we campaigning with? Because we must also have the message and then drive. And I told you also that I have, a marker on these are the challenges that I want to look into. And I come back to tick them to see whether I've actually achieved them. So I don't know about any other person. Something about this, a rat and a lizard might be going towards the same direction, but they run two different races. They run different styles. It doesn't matter, but that will determine who gets there first. So, but for us, we want to get there as soon as possible. We can't wait, because we believe what we have is all that we need to achieve, what we need to achieve. In terms of human capacity, we have a whole lot. And if people can actually try to see things from the perspective of ownership. You were talking about maintenance and the infrastructure that we put in place. People don't own those things. If people can own them, it will be easier for government. People won't vandalize things that is for everybody.
In terms of the values that they have?
Yeah, just see it as your own.
Perhaps
because by the time you remove one cable of electricity, it affects the whole community.
Perhaps that also speaks to how the issues are communicated to people.
One of the challenges a number of people have had over time is that government is largely quiet about the things that they want them to do or they want them to own or take ownership of. They just see these things and, oh, okay, it's here. And then they just move on. I have a very sad and scary memory of a bridge on along the Ikorodu Road that connects Ikorodu Road to Western Avenue. And one night, all the railings of the bridge were there. The following night, it was all gone, made into hangars and all those things. So perhaps it's also how government at any level communicates to the people.
What will you communicate in that one? That somebody should not remove a railing on the bridge?
Well, you are the government. You have to find a way to
see, let me say something which I normally tell people. All hands must be on deck to correct or to call what I might term moral rebirth, which is one of the things I did immediately I entered office. I created what I call the Dakata philosophy and put it in a creed that people could recite, let it enter into their minds. And whether you like it or not, is you, every individual, beginning from the parents. You know, when we were much younger, we were disciplined in our primary school and said, you know those things, we don't do it again now. I'm not saying you must beat. You don't need to beat, but there are various forms of discipline. Everybody just wash off these days because even parents are not encouraging those people to be disciplined. And you see, it's not something that we just look at. By the time, who is government? Government is me and you. It's everybody. So all hands must be on deck to correct this. Take, for example, let me just touch it slightly. I'm not saying you should ask me deeper questions. Let me just go back to this issue of mapping. As a people, that's the question I keep asking them. Is there anybody who can, if you go to the market today, because of these issues, you can have 10 different maps of Akwa Ibom. So everybody will keep asking, what is the official position? Where is the map officially approved by the House of Assembly of Akwa Ibom that you own? We can't find it. So people will say, no, go to survey. You see, that's the attitude of Nigerians. People will start referring you, go to Surveyor General's office, go to a Boundaries Commission. Why can't you also have what you need to do? Which is also the problem we're having with the structure of our system that we just borrowed. Take, for example, as a state government, why can't I own an appeal court? Why can't I own an appeal court? Why? Because you see, it means matter of my state I'm bringing to somebody who does not even have a knowledge about the environment and peculiarity of my area to adjudicate over. I'm one of those that advocate for that.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it means the states too can also make that same case and say, well, we should also have a Supreme Court.
No, I didn't say Supreme. I know this is what they call Supreme.
I'm saying that at the end of the day,
they will not.
The same argument can be canvassed.
No, they will not. This one is like you waking up one morning, you say there shouldn't be angels. Or because you have angels, you must be God. No, not at all. No, nobody will ask for that. But I'm saying there are certain matters that certainly you need somebody who understands the environment, who diagnoses and knows this to actually be able to sit on that appeal. I'm serious. So why can't a state have that? So, I'm saying that we need to come to a point that certain things, that's why you heard us in PDP. We're always talking about restructuring. And unfortunately, a lot of people did not understand this restructuring. When you hear restructuring, people just try to cage it based on their own understanding. It's broader than people thought. Okay. A lot of things needed to be done. That's why PDP will come and say, we will restructure many things, which we couldn't have even finished overnight. And that's what we're selling to people, because some of this is, if we restructure it a little, people will actually be able to perform much better.
Well, you are one of the governors who didn't seek to go to the Senate.
Yes.
Why is that?
If you remember when I came into politics, I said I'm a professional in politics. I'm not a professional politician. So I don't look at the next election, I look at the next generation. So the question is, how will that impact on my mission and vision into politics? I didn't seek to go to Senate, I sought to be the president, because I know I have the capacity to restore and to rescue Nigeria. Certainly yes. Certainly yes. And that's why I wanted to be president. Because I know I can rescue this country, I can restore. Every country on planet Earth, the presidency runs based on your economic blueprint. And if you have the right economy, that's what the center needs. I'm serious. And I have what it takes to actually put this country back on track.
Yeah, but you
and that's why I saw that.
You didn't run, okay, yeah, well, you were at the primaries. I remember that you were at the primaries of your party.
So, and I don't like violating the law. I can't be running presidency and then at the same time go and collect form to be a senator. I mean, that's total violation of the Electoral Act.
Do you think that, looking back, the PDP should have done things differently for the presidential elections?
Like what?
In terms of internally?
I don't know. I think we did our best. Let me say something. At times, we believe systems run by human beings will be the same with systems run by God. So let me repeat something that I said recently. Even if you take the best engineering firms times 10 to come and build a house for you, the day you park in, you see a lot of defects to show that it's human being. So no matter the system, once you find men, it can never be perfect. There's no perfect system anywhere.
But this doesn't appear to have been rocket science in terms of how the cracks emanated and grew within the party, because, I mean, you heard several times, they look at the results now and thought, well, if we had done certain things, maybe we might have clinched it. That's what people are saying.
Do you know one thing I also see in politics? There's no God. People try to take politics as if it's all and all their own. People don't bring a God factor into it. And I was taught, and I believe in it, and I hold on to it, that when it comes to power, it's God that determines the whole lot. You only do what you want to do as man. The question is, did we do what we needed to do as a party? The answer is yes. If other things still happen, it means, well, that's human.
For instance, zoning. Do you think with benefit of hindsight, if your party had zoned, and maybe a southern candidate...
I don't know. I'm not God. I don't know. I don't know. Other parties zoned and still did not get it. I don't know. You see, I don't dabble into things that I don't have control over, honestly. The question is, if you believe you can do it, then throw in yourself. I threw in myself. And I didn't get enough votes to be a candidate. So that doesn't mean I should dump my party.
Now, looking at what is happening now, I mean, looking at what is currently, what has happened, yes, matters are in court, and, the parties are also in court as well. But the future of your party, looking at how the elections have divided the House somewhat, how do you think that the party is going to be able to pull together?
Leave politicians. We might go different ways today. Tomorrow we can be back together. Don't worry about that. That's the nature of politicians anywhere in the world. Today you can let me even leave Nigeria. You see all this noise they are making in America. Donald Trump. Let him stand primaries today. You'll be shocked. That will clear everybody in the Republican. Somebody who failed election with 68 million votes. Where have you ever seen that before? So forget politicians. We can just be so much noise today. Tomorrow you see all of us holding hands together.
So you don't take it to heart?
Well, I don't know the spirit behind it. I can't explain that. Honestly, I don't know the spirit behind it. But to say, you see, a whole lot of factors come to play in this matter. And there are certain things that he's only a bad person that will wash his own dirty linen outside. I will not come here and say, oh, PDP could have done this or didn't do this. That's past tense. It's history. I keep saying so. I move forward. Forward ever, backward never. Did we look at those mistakes? The answer is yes. Will we correct them? The answer is yes. We'll correct them and then we'll move forward. But for now, it seems to be another period of transition. We're in court, we're in this, it's still part of experience. Let's make the mistakes wherever we want to make, and let's correct it. And you see, let me also say something. If we don't allow this phase to come true, it will not strengthen democracy. Because there can't be any proper democracy without the rule of law. So this is a test of the rule of law. So let's also test the rule of law to back democracy. Because you see, without rule of law, there can't be democracy. If things like this don't happen, how will you test the rule of law? And in the public eye, let's test the rule of law. We have so many, celebrated cases in Nigeria today. Let's still use everything and test the rule of law to back the democracy that we have.
Since you say Nigerians should not take politicians so seriously.
I never said that.
No. I mean, with the way politics is played, they can be fighting on TV today, but behind the scenes, they are eating together.
I didn't say behind the scenes. I said tomorrow you will see them. Behind the scenes, you will see them.
It can still be behind the scenes. I mean, some see them. Some see them. We see them. How should we approach this back and forth about leadership of the National Assembly now, as is being reported everywhere?
I'm not one. Unfortunately, I've never been to...
You're still in politics. You're still in PDP.
No, I've never been to National Assembly, so I can't claim to know the rules of the... at times I read certain things in social media. It's absolutely insane. Somebody will say, oh, Governor Udom Emmanuel is trying to influence... I don't dabble into the areas that don't concern me. You will never, ever hear me come into that area I don't have control over. As a party, we will take position on who we want to support. When we call for that meeting, I will lend my voice. And whatever I say there, the outcome as a party, I stand by it. But for me to come as an individual, when I have a platform and be ranting now, I will not do it. So when you read some of these things, you hear people, oh, Governor Udom did this, it's a lie. You know, some people just thrive in lying and looking on how to muslim somebody. Absolutely not me.
Do you still
have somebody who obeys the process and who sticks to it? And we have a platform. The platform is our party, PDP. So the party will speak. And if the party speaks, I will abide by it. After all, I just give you an example. I went for primaries, wanted to be the president, because I think I have everything it takes to be the president. And I went there. The party had spoken. I stepped back by the party, and they made me the chairman of the Presidential Campaign Council. I did my very best for the party. So, and I'm satisfied I did my best.
Do you still have a good relationship with your predecessor, Godswill Akpabio?
You know, if you observe me over the years, any interview, anytime I sit in the public, I don't discuss people. I don't discuss personalities. It's a very wrong thing. I'm not into that kind of politics. That's why I say probably I'm not a professional politician. So if I'm not a professional politician, it's extremely difficult for me to sit.
He's talking about your relationship.
No. That's still something very personal. It's very personal. It goes beyond politics. I'm serious. So I'm not that kind of politician. You cannot find me in the past 8 years sitting on the public to discuss anybody. I don't do it.
But there's one I would like you to discuss.
Which is?
Hilda Bassi.
That's another personality.
That's a personality. Correct. And has put Akwa Ibom and Nigeria on the world map.
Never mind that she did it in Lagos.
Never mind that she did it in Lagos. But there was a celebration in Akwa Ibom State. There was a place.
I did a video call with her. I issued a statement as a governor congratulating her. You know, when people talk about branding, they look at branding only in the public, only in the private sector eye. That's super branding also for our state, because it also puts your state somewhere in the map. People start knowing it. So because of that, I call her our Dakada ambassador. So she's done well. So certainly that's why as a state we congratulated her. And we have other people like that who have made the state proud. And that's why during our anniversary, if you check, we call them out, we honor them with the state honors. So like our own falls in the middle. I believe by September, when we are celebrating the state anniversary, she will get the state honors and everything that, all the accompaniment. So we do that every year. At the anniversary of the state, we recognize the people that made the state proud.
Is there a system to iconize more young people, or raise more young people like that from Akwa Ibom or in Akwa Ibom that can blow the torch or take the torch of the state around like that?
But that's what I just explained.
I know that you have a youth development program.
Correct.
And all of that. So how strong is that going on?
Exceptionally strong. Let me tell you something. Aniekeme, who had been holding Commonwealth gold medals for Nigeria, was picked at the public school championship that was organized during long vacation. And she's been representing Nigeria. And there are so many like that. Some of the people in the lower teams and so on. So, and if you check these days, there's hardly any category of sports. Let me start with sports because I go to the area I know. Before, you always hear Udom somewhere. You always hear Aniekeme somewhere. Those are deliberate attempts by the state to actually harness these resources. Because, my brother, whether you like it or not, some people must still be, Serena Williams of this world. Some people will still be Messi of this world. And these guys earn much more than anybody. They are even more famous than anybody. I remember when Puyol came to Nigeria on this Heineken thing. There's no governor that didn't want to shake hands with Puyol. So God gives talents to many people. Once you can harness and stir it up, and then, people will identify with you. So we're happy to have this number of people who are making the state proud. And we set up a platform every September during our anniversary to actually recognize them. We did a whole lot last September. And this September, Hilda will come in under that too. Because we can't do it ad hoc basis. We must also wait during the state anniversary. And we have a very handsome,
It's good to know Real Madrid fans even wanted to shake hands with Puyol. I imagine. Real Madrid, because it's Barcelona.
I'm Barcelona.
Okay, good. So what next for you now after you leave office?
In terms of private or country or state? Because you must ratify some of these things. Private, I'll leave that aside.
You're not going back to the private sector?
No, I didn't say I leave that aside. I say I won't discuss that here.
Oh okay. That's what you mean.
You can take certain things out of the people, but you can't take certain people out of certain things. You see, whether you like it or not, even my style of governance is business approach to governance. That's why you could see all these things we are doing. It's business approach to governance. Yeah. So some of us, is in us to see things work and work well. I don't know whether you watch our handing over on Monday. Everybody will tell you, oh, that's not the style. That's not how we do it. But no, we must also create. You see, I belong to a society, the category that believe I should create change. I should not manage change created by other people. I create change. I don't manage change. So by Monday, I told people all these days we've been commissioning hard infrastructure. Can we now choose Monday to commission soft infrastructure? Because that's also what people know. I mean, what people don't know. The soft infrastructure runs the hard infrastructure. So what did we do on that Monday? We did a proper, of course, it was covered live all over the world. We did a proper handing over. Incoming, see, this is what you go, MDA by MDA. This is where I took over from 8 years ago. This is where I stopped. If you want to continue this way, you continue. These are things we did. We did that aside. Then I now told him, I said, look, when I came into office, the challenges I met, I don't want you to meet it. I need to make sure that I digitize the entire civil service structure. But let's start with the asset management and the human resource systems, because those are the two major challenging areas. And that, we had to put it live. So that when it comes now, it will be very easy. And what do we do? And what we do say, instead of going through all those manpower that people waste, verification, BV, and this and that, as you are applying on the civil service, the systems allocate to you a number. And that's your control number till you die. Because that number will give you is your employment number. That number is your promotion number. That number is your salary number. That number is your gratuity number. And that number is your pension number. So there's no point going to do verification of this or that, and it's self-regulating. And we also did the same for, so I handed over that also as soft infrastructure. Then I also noticed that for several years they've not done law reforms. If you're coming, if things must change, these are things that must be done regularly. And of course, we needed to do it during COVID, and we couldn't continue because it needed a whole lot of interrelationships with people. I said, no, I can't leave office without getting this achieved. And I did law reforms for 22 years. And hand it over to him. So these are soft infrastructure. These are things I say people create change. And I try to let people know that these are soft infrastructure that run the hard infrastructure.
All right. All right, that's a good place to leave it. We do thank you very much indeed for your time today, and I'm sure that lots of people will be looking forward to more projects.
But you didn't let me thank my people, Chambali.
Well,
you did at the beginning of the program.
No, I should do at the end.
Okay.
Some of them just joined.
Go ahead.
Just allow me to thank my people. You know, because these people have really supported me, Chambali, in the past 8 years. So honestly, I want to once again thank our fathers in faith, our youths, our women, our elders, our stakeholders, our party. They've been wonderful. Tremendous support in 8 years. These are people who see the good side of what you are trying to do. And they bought into it, and they've stood by us. I cannot, anytime I have any platform, I must appreciate them. They've been tremendous. I really want to thank them. And whenever I am totally indebted to my people. Anytime I have opportunity, I will put the interest of my people always first before my personal interest, which is what I've done in the past 8 years. Thank you, Akwa Ibomites. God bless you all.
Well, governance is about the people, so when it has to do with the people, we have no choice, because the people should come first. Well, thank you for coming on again, and we wish you all the best hereafter. We've been speaking with His Excellency Udom Emmanuel, Governor of Akwa Ibom State. Well, that is Sunrise Daily here today. We came to you live from Abuja. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
Thank you, and thank you for your questions as well. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day.